Welcome back to the NAIAFBALL live show powered by AdCraft Custom Apparel and Merch. Your custom apparel, merch, and uniform expert since 1974. I am Cory Thorpe, and we are back, baby. Thanks so much.
It's not just an image anymore, Cory. It's actually you.
Just an image, and I just realized that I totally forgot to, change out my ad in the middle of the screen. That's okay. That tells you the last time I've actually used OBS to do this. Now we're in moving images. Woo! But thanks so much to Matt for hosting the show while we were on the move. We've got our setup at least in a place where I can host at this point. We've still got some changes to make life a little bit easier for me. And, of course, still got a whole lot of boxes to unpack. But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk football. And the best folks that we have worked with this year for football, it's absolutely been UEN, been working with us since the season, basically since it ended. And talking about how we can make this happen. We've been so grateful to them and are so glad to be their partners in this endeavor and working through some of the bugs in the UEN app. It happens to the best of them, but trying to make it the best experience for NAI viewing that you can have. Matt, when we went offline last week, we mentioned that there were going to be upsets that we did not see coming. We had two of them, and I'll start off with a double overtime thriller, which I'm glad ended in double overtime because now the triple overtime and up rules really confuse me. That's Midland Concordia, a 60-52 double overtime thriller. Holy Christmas.
Now, look, and I think, too, it's important to note about this game, this wasn't just a back and forth, blow-for-blow affair. Concordia was up in this game 38-7, 4 minutes into the third quarter.
This is weird. Okay, you notice normally I put my defensive production on one side, usually it's huge, and the offensive side is third and fourth down conversions. It's usually not great. And that's the way it is here. But somehow, even through all of this, both teams had great defensive production, and neither team really wanted to convert on third and fourth down. And somehow we still came away with 112 points scored between them. I don't get it. Brody Johnson has himself a day, though. 7 touchdowns and a pick, 424 yards. Carlos Collazo goes off for $171 on 30 attempts, which is 6 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns. That'll do for Concordia. I haven't known what to do with Concordia all season. Now I still don't, but I will say, Matt, this just enhances our narrative that we've been just propping up the entire season long, and that is that there are 3 classes in the GPAC: the elite, the extremely good, and everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly how it's shaken out, especially just with Concordia. Even Midland, who's been kind of up and down, but they've shown that they've had some good fight in them. This was really a test that if you're Concordia, you would really like to have back, because ultimately, with the way the rest of your schedule stacks up, this is a win you needed under your belt to get some momentum. Notably have the big bad of Morningside coming up. I believe they also have to play Dort still, which is going to be really intriguing matchup for them, especially after a game like this. So it's so much more densely packed in the middle than we're used to seeing. I feel like it's more clear cut as a bottom, like a top and bottom with the GPEC, like we've talked about in the past. But there's just so many like pretty good to all right teams that all kind of beat up on each other. And we're seeing that. It's been interesting too in the national polls. Mount Marty, Concordia, and I believe Midland are all receiving votes this week from the poll that got released. So these are still widely respected teams across the country, and I think that's warranted to some degree. They play really good defense and have shown us really good things on the offensive side of the ball as well. But yeah, it's nice to see some of the concerns we had about Concordia like bubble up to where we're going to have to address it, right? And Coach Staverkow does a great job getting that team locked in and ready to go. So I'm sure they won't be going anywhere, but definitely a bit of a gut check in this one.
Next, a game that we thought might be a gut check, but ended up being, well, it started out that way. Didn't end up that way, and that's Kaiser Florida Memorial, a 21-point lead for the defending national runners-up. Florida Memorial held a 13-3 lead in the second quarter, was only down 4 with 3 minutes to go in the second quarter. Kaiser storms back at that end of the second quarter and then just puts pedal to the metal throughout the rest of the game. It's really, really hard to win when, one, you're only forcing 13 third downs, and then you're allowing them to convert 8 of those at a 61.5% clip. Florida Memorial's defense, unfortunately, was not as ready for Kaiser as the offense was. Gerard Sims, 19 attempts, 203 yards, 2 touchdowns, was he was up on my screen for a long time for Player of the Week honors until he got usurped. But, man, Kaiser, man. We'll see more, but this was, honestly, to me, this was less than I had hoped for Kaiser.
Yeah, I think too. It's also just a matter of Florida Memorial's like that good to where they can, take a swing or two at Kaiser and get them on their heels for a little bit. But what I see from this game is, probably not what Kaiser would have wanted ultimately with it being close like that in the beginning. But also, I'm seeing a team that's able to respond when they even aren't the first one to strike per se, or to have the momentum early. They're good enough to work out of that and eventually get back rolling, which they did in this one. I still think Kaiser's as good as ever. I still think Florida Memorial's a very good team. Just was Florida Memorial's chance to capitalize on a hot streak, and they just couldn't quite get it done.
You know who did capitalize, though? That's Carroll. This game,
Yeah.
that says an 8-point lead. This game was over early third quarter. Carroll's defense, I put a little bit of context on Palandri. Palandri's a good quarterback. Carroll had him running for his ever-loving life. Up, down, and sideways, 14 attempts, -8 yards. Got him sacked 4 times for -22 yards, which means that is, if I did my math right, 10 non-sack attempts for 14 yards, which meant even when Palandri was able to make positive yards, he weren't making many of them. 3 picks. That Carroll defense, even though they allowed 34 points, I think that's about as good as you're going to get on Montana Western. This was a beautiful defensive effort for Carroll.
Yeah, 100%. It was extremely impressive to see how their defense rose to the challenge. We've seen Montana Western asked the question of everybody they played, like, what are you going to do about Palandri? And lo and behold, Carroll had something to say about it. They were ready to go. And I think, too, this win is so big for Carroll because it propels them pretty much to number 2 at this point in the conference, with the conversation to be had about where Montana Western kind of falls after this. Still a very good football team. I think the production for Montana Western was still there at times, and obviously at the end of the game it picked up. But rattling off 22 points in the second quarter on a team, on a defense like Montana Western, is certainly going to put you in really high regard in my eyes.
And not only does it put them in a position to be second in the conference, it puts them in the driver's seat of the Frontier West? East? West. Frontier West. Definitely the West.
There you go.
I think it's the West. I mean, that would make more. I don't know. Geography is not my strong suit. It puts them in the driver's seat of their half, because Montana Tech on the other side of things is just goodbye, see the rest of their side of the division. Because they are, that's a truly elite team. Carroll still has to go through College of Idaho.
Yeah,
that's a really good squad.
Mm-hmm.
Still has to go through Southern Oregon, who also has a really good squad. But that game right there, that's the first step to securing the bag if you're Carroll.
Well, and I think, too, for Carroll, it's interesting because realistically, this team's 5-1. Their only loss is an 11-point loss to Montana Tech.
Right.
And they are 5-1, and they stomped out Dickinson State and kind of started their skid. They fought off a very competitive Rocky Mountain team, looked good against Arizona Christian, pulls out this win on the road now. All the momentum's in their favor, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they felt disrespected up until this point. Because I feel like a lot of people haven't been talking about this team like we usually might see. So it's the wake-up call to the rest of the NAIA. Hello, Carroll's here.
Hello, Zuko here. Anyway, on to the next. And the last one, another great upset to end the night. Bethel, Tennessee, upsetting Receiving Votes Cumberland 28-24. I will say Cumberland, without their normal starting quarterback, Jake Parker, comes in 10 of 21 for 238, 3 touchdowns, interception. Not bad.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Bethel didn't get a sack on him, but they did get 7 tackles for a loss and 9 pass breakups. So you were able to affect the game in that way. Bethel just able to be a little bit better. And this really kind of, again, divides in the same way that we talked about the GPAC, where Cumberland is very good, but they are still upsettable by a Bethel team that is in a first-year head coach situation that we're not terribly sure about on the eye test.
Yeah, 100%. And it's curious to see, too, where Bethel coming into this game's been, because they've been a bit quiet. We didn't get to see them against Kaiser earlier, obviously losing their D3 matchup to Mary Harding Baylor, I believe it was, at the beginning of the season as well. We finally get to see them overcome their first test, it feels like, for the season, at a crucial point, too, especially with where the Mid-South's at. They're going to have to fight and scratch and claw to work their way up the rankings at this point, because that entire conference is getting extremely top-heavy, which is really fun, but also, like, good luck.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's going to be fun. So, where does that put everybody then? So we had 2 whole conferences, the Heart and the KCAC, who had football buys for the entire conference. Well, by Jove, it gives us a 2-way tie at 4th and a 3-way tie at 8th. Yay! Grandview gets 8 of 8 first place votes. No movement between Grandview, Benedictine, Morningside. Kaiser and Montana Tech tie here at 173 173 points, ties for 4th. Friends coming in 6th. They and Lindsay do not move a bit. Then our 3-way tie for 8th. Campbellsville up 3 spots. Marion up 2. St. Thomas up 1. Dort coming in up 1 at 11. Carroll coming in after that. Upset win, up 6 spots, sniffing the back half of the top 10. Indiana Wesleyan up 1. Ottawa of Arizona, the loser there. Even after pitching a shutout, they drop 1. McPherson, Southwestern at 15-16, they hold serve there. Montana Western slides 9-17. College of Idaho comes up 1, as well as Mid-America Nazarene. Olivet Nazarene at 20 goes up 2. Georgetown is holds pat there. Welcome back to the top 25. St. Francis of Indiana, Southeastern, holds its spot. William Penn up 1-24. Evangel down 1-25. And in the smallest amount of receiving votes teams that I've seen probably in my entire time here at NAIAF Ball, our receiving votes teams are Texas Wesleyan, three votes or 3 points off of 25th, so they're close. Concordia, 1 vote behind them, and Florida Memorial behind them. So let's take a quick break. We'll step aside here for a minute. Hear a word from our friends at AdCraft.
So you want to create and sell custom merch for your team or business. That's exciting, but where do you begin? How much inventory should you order? How do you distribute orders? AdCraft has your answers. Streamline the way you offer custom merch by utilizing our risk-free web store service. We ship directly to each customer, and we have the fastest turnaround in the game. Raise funds for your team or get merch to your employees and patrons. Contact AdCraft today, and let's bring your merch to life.
That is exactly what they do. We are going to be doing a web store in time for, hopefully, in time for Black Friday. Just working out the kinks in it and making sure that we get the best product to you. Working on bringing back the hashtag NAIA product shirts, which should be fun. Kind of expanding how we do those. Working with AdCraft, again, it's such a breeze. If there's any problems, it's me. I'm the problem. Hi, it's me. Hashtag not a Swiftie. AdCraft can be if you want them to or not. Contact them and they can bring it to life.
That was really convincing, Cory.
Thank you. I appreciate that. They let me go off the cuff on these, and that sometimes is probably a mistake. Who else brings our show to life is Connor Darnell. Does a fantastic job with our graphics. He is in charge of our entire visual look and our brand identity. I have entrusted it into his hands, and he does a phenomenal job of making us look good with all the look that we have, the graphics that we have, the stuff that we post to social media is his baby. So, like Matt has said, for the entire season, you need a commit graphic. It's getting that time of year where you're starting to whittle them down. Maybe you got a top 3 that you want to pop out there. Contact Connor if you need a schedule graphic for spring sports, because it's probably a little late for winter because it's crossover season, right, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little late for winter.
Yeah.
If you want it for spring, though, he's got you. Man, make your life easier. Outsource some of the work to Connor. He'd love to do your work for you. Anyway, the NAIF Ball Players of the Week. Matt, there were so many. For as few games as we had, we actually had so many possible candidates here.
Yeah, it was really good performances all around the country this week.
And 2 from one conference at that. I mean, you had a wide receiver from Northwestern who caught 200 some odd yards worth of balls with, I think, 4 touchdowns. I think it was Tanner Shelton that did that. But, yeah, I'm a sucker for a 7-touchdown game.
Look, they don't happen very often. I can't say I blame you there.
Yeah. 8 yards an attempt, not bad. 7 touchdowns in an interception. Brody Johnson, our offensive player of the week. Defensively had to go down to the state of Kentucky. Deshaun Webster, 18 tackles and a scoop and score. He forces the fumble himself. He goes and gets the ball himself, and he runs it back for a touchdown in a 38-35 loss to Powerhouse Reinhardt, AAC Powerhouse Reinhardt. That's a whale of a game, and you gotta, if you're in the AAC, you gotta watch the Knights. They are they're dangerous.
Yeah, keeping it that close with Reinhardt certainly isn't something they're used to doing. So, hey.
And what else is dangerous, at least for your budget, is getting mad and going Steve Spurrier style on your headsets.
True.
The old ball coach had a lot bigger budget than you probably do, even in the 90s. And it is unfortunate, but what that means for you is that you can get more value out of a better product than Steve Spurrier ever had. And that is using the headset app. You can use your own phone, your own headset. You can block out the crowd noise and not warm your ears up extremely. Because I'm going to tell you, I'm one to talk. When I get out of this podcast, my ears are burning. Don't let your ears burn. Use your own earbuds instead. They're cheaper. They're better quality audio. It's a much better option. But thanks to the headset app for sponsoring our play call of the week. And it comes from the Carroll, Montana Western game here. Let's have a look.
Stadium. Here comes pressure. Hewitt's got a man wide open at Colts into the 30. It's a foot race to the end zone, and they won't catch him. Touchdown, Carroll College.
Matt, just a great pitch and catch there. You can see, what? I'm going to rewind the video a little bit, see if we can see the play call here. You can see you've got 3-by-1 coverage on the near side of the field. You've got all these guys over. Montana Western brings their backers on a blitz. Caden Hewitt goes, I got one-on-one somewhere, don't I? Finds it, puts a perfectly placed ball over the top to Chris Ackleshan. Anything additional you want to add to that, Matt?
I mean, not only is this just a big play in the sense it's a 75-yard touchdown, but this is a crucial point in the game for Carroll because before this play and before this touchdown, it was, Montana Western was in the lead, especially on 3rd and 11 in your own territory, being able to have the confidence to take a one-on-one shot. And I mean, he saw it right away. He steps back, he looks, sees the corner has the outside coverage and is giving his receiver a lane on the inside to just blow right by him. It's a huge risk that pays off and helps Carroll roll to their biggest win of the season.
All right, let's see what we got to watch, and I believe you me, there's a whale of a lot of games to watch this weekend, and we've got quality and quantity this year because we've got the Franciscan Bowl. It's the first time in probably 4 years that we've gotten to actually feature the Franciscan Bowl as a what to watch for, where both teams have been ranked in our poll. This one in Indianapolis. That one's going to be a good one. Lindsey Wilson at Campbellsville for probably the Mid-South Championship right here in October. That one's going to be phenomenal. Friends, one of last real test they've got. No, not one of the last. One of the first in their division as they play host to McPherson. Just looking to see if they can knock off a Friends team who most everyone nationally thinks is, again, truly an elite squad. Montana Western tries to lick its wounds as it plays College of Idaho. College of Idaho does not have an in-division loss. A win for the Yotes brings it over to where you can have a head-to-head against Carroll. A Montana Western win. Well, Matt, you and I both know that this is probably going to be a Montana Western win for no football reason whatsoever, except for the fact that the Frontier Conference was birthed under a full moon in the midst of chaos.
Yeah. It's not explainable. It's just how it is.
It's just how it is. There's no football reason for Montana Western to beat College of Idaho. There's no football reason that I can say for College of Idaho to beat Montana Western. What I can tell you, though, is that for chaos to be the narrative, it's going to be Montana Western. And then we talk about deciding games. Kaiser St. Thomas going to be a very decisive game. Kaiser coming off of a tighter one against Florida Memorial. They've got to shake that off and play a St. Thomas team whose only loss is to Lindsey Wilson. And that loss is looking better and better every week.
Yeah, seriously. It's going to be, that one's going to be really fun. A lot of these matchups are going to be really good. I'm really excited for Friends McPherson because I feel like those are the two teams I've talked the most about this year. We get another Matt Bowl, just like the Friends of Angel game was earlier this year, which I can appreciate. College of Idaho, Montana Western is also really, really intriguing to me because I'm curious to see, like you mentioned, how Montana Western responds against the College of Idaho team that feels like it's surging right now, especially just with how they've crept back into the rankings from out of nowhere for this year. So curious to see what happens there.
Call out a couple more games that aren't necessarily my top tier, but ones that I'm going to be kind of keeping an eye on to see how the teams react. Cumberland at Georgetown.
Yep.
That was a huge one. That is homecoming for the Tigers.
Yeah.
Concordia at Hastings. Can Concordia not be throwing themselves a pity party? The winners of 4 in a row, St. Xavier at St. Francis. Morningside at Northwestern, which tells you something about Northwestern season that they're not on this list.
That's
weird.
usually a matchup that's like the one we're looking forward to the most in the regular season.
It's weird. I'm just going to tell you from my perspective, that's just as weird as it is for everyone else. Let's see.
Dakota State, Valley City State.
That's another good one. Another good one. Dickinson at Rocky is another good one that's going on. But yeah, Valley City State and Dakota State, those are both 2-loss teams there, if I remember correctly, that really could decide who's going to be where. And then Mid-American Nazarene at Baker, a game that if Baker was who we thought they were, that would have been a game that made the list too.
Yeah.
So
I also think one more to mention that I'm curious about just for more personal interest, but Texas Wesleyan hosts Mary Hardin Baylor, who we had mentioned earlier, beat Bethel, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning of the season. So we get a bigger sample size for D3 football compared to NAIA, which I'm always curious about.
That's true. And then we get to see, then we kind of get to play a little bit of equivalency. Obviously, it's not a perfect 1-for-1, but we can play a little bit of equivalency and see was Bethel, because obviously one of those two losses is a forfeit loss to Kaiser, so you got no game action to see. Could Bethel, Tennessee be a team that starts to sneak into our top 25 even with two losses? That's definitely a good call too. What is also a good call, Matt, is signing up for our Patreon. Patreon.com/NAIAFBall. It's a fantastic choice. I checked today. The QR code still works. I've been wondering all season, and I thought about it today. QR code still works. So let's see who we got. We got DSU Cone, Roger Meyer, Jeremy Vobel, Fred Christensen, Ace Wellen, Marty Seabolt, Kyle Gregory, Tyler Pierce, Justin Hoffman, Steve Speakman, Brian Shake, Julianne Shager, Nate Soapbeer, Stephen Cutler, Julie Lau, Tim Burrow, Nathan Moore, Ryan, Jason Crawford, Todd, Nick, Sean Chamberlain, Zach Lance, Casey Willison, Carol C. Suggs, Chris, Derek Lowers, Christopher Zwiener, Joey Breckel, Coca Nicholas, and Swede Nation. Now, I did see we had some comments. Let's go to the comments. Halfway through.
And while you're loading that up, I need to give a quick shout out, Cory, because I don't get to talk about baseball a whole lot. But my Mariners up 9-3 right now into the ALCS.
Let's go, Big Dumper.
Big Dumper. Love to see it. Okay, sorry, I just had to.
I mean, to be fair, like I said, I do have a vested interest. Let's see if this is going to show up on camera. I'll probably have to throw it into main here. But in a couple, there were a couple years I covered Florida State baseball. Y'all know my love for Florida State. Got that under the bleachers. No, that was a bleacher ball that someone had forgotten about. But Cal Raleigh, the former Florida State catcher, got to cover him at his time at Florida State. That was so much fun to watch him play. Got a Let's Go Jays. To be honest, I had forgotten a little bit that Taylor had beaten Kansas Wesleyan. Tabor is definitely a team that you got to keep an eye out on. How's the NAIAFBALL wall coming along? Hey, it's good. I mean, you can see I got the green screen finally. We'll see, because right now everything's kind of squished in here. It is good to be back in action, Chris, as well as the KCAC and Heart. I honestly, and this is going to be, my proud moment there. Like, we can't do this next year. Like texting Commissioner of the Heart, going, can we not do this next year? Like, I fully support the conference bye, but can we at least check our schedules against each other?
Yeah.
And not do it on the same week.
Let's cross-reference. Yeah.
Right. And then, Friends McPherson is going to be a big game. Both of them like to run the football. So, in saying that it's going to be a low, a time of possession, low-scoring game, probably means that it absolutely will not be that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm super here for it. Unfortunately, it's my wife's birthday weekend, so I won't get to watch as much as I want. But we'll see what happens. What happens is what the wife will want to happen, because as y'all that are married understand, there's balance to be had. Let's see. I think that's it. Man, it is good to be back in action.
Looks like it.
It is going into week 8 of 11. We're close. I think, honestly, probably next week I'm going to start at least building out some of my early bracketology stuff and figuring out, okay, in order to win the conference, what has to happen? What are some of your key games? Because there are going to be some like the AAC, for example. Gonna knock them for a moment. where they're never going to have a what to watch for game. Because right now, Reinhardt has the best record, and it's 3-3. They're probably not going to make the top 25 anytime soon. So I do want to follow that action, though, in any action, especially like the U-Pike Reinhardt game, or anything where points involved with Reinhardt or U-Pike, because again, out of nowhere, Point has rejoined the conversation. Is going to be a game to watch as we go towards the end of the season and watch that suss itself out. It's going to be fun. So I'll be watching that and getting.
I'll tell you what, Cory. End of the season for the GPAC, your bracketology is going to be real easy.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to go ahead and lock Morningside. And I'm going to say that the Dort is an in at this point, and everyone else is planning trips to Disney World.
Yep, and not to mention Morningside and Dort play in the final week of the season for all of the marbles.
Even so, both of them make it.
True, you have to avoid getting swept up in the madness along the way.
Like, what do you do there if you're a coach? Like, you're going, we want to win a GPAC championship, but at the same time, we're both going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And it's not going to affect seeding all that much. Do you sort of play vanilla, play some more backups on your rotation than you normally would, or are you like hell for leather? And you are going to win that GPAC hell or high water?
I mean, I feel like it's hard to imagine that Coach Ryan's going to want to let up on anybody.
You're right about that. That man does not know the meaning of those two words.
So, I think that also plays a factor in that probably won't happen.
But at the same time, you saw what happened in Northwestern when they did that with Tyson Koima.
True.
You got to pick your battles, and for Morningside, their battle is really not against Dort, against who they're playing 2 weeks from then. So we'll get to that more. Just a little bit of an add-on to that. So for Matt Schwartzler, I am Cory Thorpe, and we will see y'all on the Twitter feed.